There's a kind of loneliness that doesn't always look lonely. It hides behind laughter, busyness, and the words, "I've just been so busy lately." But somewhere beneath all that noise, there's a quiet ache that never really leaves. It's not about being alone in a room. It's about realizing that no one truly sees you, that if you disappeared for a while, the world would keep spinning. And maybe, just maybe, no one would notice right away. That's the kind of loneliness that doesn't shout. It hums quietly in the background of your life, changing how you think, how you see yourself, and how you move through the world. People assume that those who have no friends are cold or uninterested. But often the truth is the opposite. They feel too much. They notice everything. Every shift in tone, every unspoken tension, every smile that doesn't reach the eyes. They care so deeply that it starts to hurt. And when caring hurts enough times, they begin to retreat. Not from hatred, but from fear. Fear that connection will cost them more than isolation ever could. Psychologically, the brain treats deep isolation like a wound. It activates the same regions as physical pain. That's why loneliness doesn't just ache, it hurts. Your heartbeat changes. Sleep becomes shallow. Even safety starts to feel temporary, because long ago, to be alone meant to die. And even now, with thousands of faces glowing on screens, you can feel invisible, because attention is not connection. Validation is not closeness, and being known is not the same as being understood. That's something people who live without friends understand better than anyone. They didn't choose this. They didn't wake up one morning and decide to walk alone. It happens slowly, one disappointment at a time. You share something personal and someone laughs. You trust and it's betrayed. You open up and it's ignored. So the mind learns it's safer to stay silent. And for a while, solitude feels peaceful. It gives you control. It gives you calm. But then, slowly, the quiet starts to echo. Memories play on loop. Voices from the past get louder than the present. And you start wondering not why people left, but why you ever thought you were enough to stay. This is how loneliness rewires you. You stop reaching out. You stop expecting warmth. You tell yourself you like being alone, and for a time, you might. But after a while, solitude stops being rest and starts being a cage. Because no matter how strong you were never built to exist unseen. And yet, people with no friends are rarely bitter. They often carry enormous empathy because they know how it feels to be invisible. They're the ones who notice the quiet kid, the coworker who seems off, the stranger who just needs someone to ask, "Are you okay?" They've lived in silence long enough to hear what others miss. But there's a strange irony in this kind of loneliness. The more you crave connection, the harder it becomes to reach for it. You build walls to protect yourself, then wonder why no one can see inside. And over time, you stop believing you're worth being known. You shrink. You edit yourself down. Until one day, even you can barely recognize who you used to be. But here's the truth. The mind can learn connection again. The heart can unlearn fear. It starts with the smallest gestures, a returned smile, a text answered instead of overthought, a quiet yes when part of you still wants to say no. Because real friendship doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from being present, from showing up as you are, flawed, scared, real. And the ones meant for you won't fear your quiet. They'll feel it as depth. They won't need you to perform. They'll simply meet you there in your stillness. Sometimes healing isn't about finding new people. It's about remembering who you were before you learned to hide. Because loneliness, when faced with courage, can teach you the rarest kind of wisdom, how to be at peace in your own company. And one day, without even searching, you'll meet someone who carries the same softness in their eyes, someone who's known the same quiet. You'll smile, they'll smile back, and for a moment, two lonely worlds will find each other again. Because loneliness was never the end. It was just the place your next chapter began.